Rope is a 2007 romantic comedy directed by Michael Bay. The film garnered critical success and commercial success when it was released in 4 cinemas.
I have picked for my LieMDB the film Rope, Alfred Hitchcock's Rope from 1948. It's a crime drama mystery. It's a nice little 1 hour 20-minute PG film. That I saw for the first time fairly recently. I hadn't heard of it at all, but just from the first time I watched it, I was just like, I love this film. It's just, I don't know, just so well written. Just the main thing that stands out is just the use of long shots basically in it. And I was watching a video on IMDb sort of saying how they felt that this film kind of started the I can have a really long shot type sort of thing that you kind of now see in films and TV shows. Just how this is one of I don't know, suggested it was the first, and I don't know how accurate that would be, but it's definitely probably one of the oldest examples of just going for, how much of a film can I just make be one shot? And it's, apart from the cuts they had to sneak in there, it basically is all just one shot of a party.
It's pretty cool.
It's
a pretty good concept. When was the first time you saw it? Why did you watch it?
I can answer that.
Watched it in Strasbourg with Ethan and another friend, just because we were doing sort of we were basically doing kind of this in a sense, but
it was.
You've been cheating on us with another podcast.
They didn't record it. They just acted like normal people, Tony.
What? People do things and don't make a podcast out of them.
But basically we just got each other to watch films that we either really wanted to see or thought were really good, and then that's how I ended up seeing Rope.
It was basically LieMDB, but with 3 rounds, wasn't it? And we didn't have that bullshit top 250 nonsense. We could just pick a film if we liked it.
I know it wasn't Ethan's pick. I think, was it the first time? Definitely the first time you'd seen it. Was it the first time you'd heard of it?
Oh no, I've known about it for quite a while now, and I've been meaning to watch it. So I'm glad that our friend did pick it because I didn't. But I was aware of the fact that the film consisted of pretty much just tracking shots, and not many of them, if not just one entire tracking shot. But that would probably be too difficult, so didn't do that. But I was aware of it before.
Did you see it in black and white, or did you see a restored version?
Well, we definitely saw it in color, but I'm not sure if it was I don't know if it's a restored version in color. I think it was shot and it was released in color.
I think it is.
Oh yeah,
shot in color.
I think it is shot in color.
First color film.
Which is really weird because
I didn't know they had color back then.
I saw a black and white picture of it.
It's really weird because because Psycho is one of his last films, and it's in black and white, and he'd been making tons of coloured films before that, which I've always found a bit strange, but I guess that kind of just works with the aesthetic of that film in particular.
According to IMDb, it is his first colour movie, so...
Holds up, fucking hell. I thought it had been restored, because unlike some films that you older films you watch, it wasn't shaking all over the place. It was quick. It felt modern.
You're exaggerating, Harry. You're exaggerating.
If we're moving on from descriptions to kind of reviews, I'd say that the fact that the way the film is shot means it holds up and actually gives further weights to the drama. But Tony, what was that thing that you've been trying to say for the last 5 minutes?
I was just going to say, it was probably released at a time when they were maybe fading out black and white TV, so it might have had a dual release. I don't know. That's just wild speculation on my
When was the film released, Jonathan, again?
1948.
I think in the 40s black and white films were still kind of pretty prominent, and they were still mostly black and white. And then I think it was over the 50s and more the 60s that things did start to turn into colour a lot more kind of commercially.
Right, so Johnny, why do you like the film?
why do I like it? Well, the part of the reason I like it just even more now is just like looking on IMDb, looking at what was it, the plot keywords, and the first one there is a gay subtext.
I totally missed that.
But yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely a Batman and Robin.
yeah. In fact, this was like his Hitchcock's like most controversial film, just because it was banned in quite a few American cities because of the implied homosexuality.
What? I
Yeah.
missed this. I mean, I know it's set in like the rich, like upper class, like country club / private school, which, you know, come on. A lot of stuff goes down in those places, as we all know. But
It is.
I don't know if this
feel,
was like the
yeah.
subtext of Akira, where you could miss it.
Do you not think that those like what relationship did those two guys have? If not,
They were just two bros, Harry, committing a murder together.
it was a friendship kiss.
I mean, it's not a very romantic film.
60% Bert and Ernie were just friends. Come on, Tony.
They're
It's not.
puppets.
It doesn't have to be romantic for their. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
It's definitely there.
Oh shit! Did we cut out?
Mm.
No,
It's there to be read.
maybe. If you're looking for it, I suppose you could see it, but nothing stood out to me as being like, something's going on between these two characters.
Yeah. Anyway, that was more just like more description in a way, but but also part of the reason I like it. But yeah, it's that long shot that is the whole film that like puts you in this place in the party, and the clever use of time, because you feel like it has been a fairly long party even though it's been really short, just like details in the background of it getting steadily darker and things like that, and just some brilliant shots. So like early on you have the swing door where he drops the rope into the drawer.
Oh, that's so good.
And that is just a beautiful shot, and you just wonder how many times did that not work out the way they wanted it to. Oh man, there's quite a few little things like that. So in the trivia, like some of the footage that ended up so everyone was trying to avoid making mistakes. There was one bit where like the camera, well, I imagine like the wheel that's connected to the camera, ran over and broke the cameraman's foot, and then he got gagged and dragged off, just to like stop him from screaming over the shot so they could continue on with it. There's another bit
Commitment.
where someone puts a glass down, misses the table, and a stagehand rushes up, catches it before it shatters on the ground. And both of those shots are then used in the thing.
That's so good.
But yeah, lots of things like that. Just trying to kind of work out how they filmed it all, because there are bits where they have to like move the stage around as well to actually get the camera to get certain shots. I feel I've got off track, but it's just filmed so well. But another thing I really like is the dialogue, just how almost all of it is just there with that like undertone of there's a dead guy in the cupboard there, just like the champagne, is it someone's birthday? Oh no, quite the opposite. Even just
There's
like
a lot of...
no, I know, you say.
No, I was gonna say there's definitely a lot of I'll say puns based on that premise.
You'll be the death of me, I reckon.
Yeah, but it's so much better than that, and just works. I feel, at least.
Yeah, no, the puns don't end up coming off like a Batman and Robin, Mr. Freeze sort of puns, because those ones are genuinely awful.
Yeah.
No, these ones are really good.
It's because of the brilliant characterization of Brandon. Just because you really get like a feel for how he's this kind of sociopathic, maybe psychopathic, I don't really know the exact difference, sort of just his kind of charm, and then just how you can tell he's having a little chuckle underneath with all of these jokes that is mostly him delivering, and I don't know, just
Well, because you mentioned the psychopaths, I'm curious to see what Tony thinks. Famously, Tony does not like kind of psychopathic characters. What did you think of?
Okay, the main guy. It was quite complicated at the very beginning, because although they're framed as the protagonist, I wasn't really sure if the story was framed in such a way as like are we meant to be seeing them get away with it, or are we meant to be rooting for them to get caught? Because the entire film has such like like an uneasy tension as you're watching it, of like, oh god, you know, at any moment, you know, they constantly are referencing it. Like there's one moment where the maid Edna, out some books, and she's like, the conversation is like half in shot, but it's focusing on her bringing books towards the table, and like right as she's about to open it, like someone cuts in, and you're like, you've got your heart in your arms, or whatever the expression is for where you're feeling uneasy.
You know,
Heart in your sleeve, heart in your stomach, heart in your chest, heart bursting out of your chest, being strangled by watching this film, because it is so. It constantly has that pressure, even though it is just a dinner.
That's why Hitchcock is number one, Tony. That's why he's number one.
It's Abigail's Party.
Yeah, Abigail's Party, but without some guy having a heart attack for 10 minutes on the floor and not dying, which is what that play was. Suffered for it.
Yeah. Speaking of Abigail's Party, this is really like a play. I say that in the nicest possible way.
I think it's because it's based off a play. I haven't really done any research into it, but just like off the opening bit where it sort of goes, oh yeah, based off the play written by whatever.
Oh shit. Yeah, because it's definitely like a play, and the whole problem with adapting a play is how do you make it cinematic? It's either you have the 12 Angry Men where the performances just pull you through, or it just doesn't work at all. Like something like a more recent film, Fences, doesn't really work because it's just a lot of it's a lot of kind of very boring shots and just dialogue. Whereas this Hitchcock is so kind of like great, and the way he moves the camera around and the way that kind of implies and suggests meaning really makes the whole thing cinematic. And I feel like in terms of like talking about like plays and stuff, like I did get a feel of Abigail's Party from it. I got like a Pinter / Akeborn kind of vibe. I said to Tony, like, oh, this is like an Inspector Calls.
And then I said it's way better than that, because Inspector Calls, you know, fair enough, it's a play and I haven't seen it live, but every version I've seen of it made me like want to die. Basically, it's not a good setup. The dinner party thing.
Yeah.
It was my like sort of I guess prejudice going into this sort of style of story, but it definitely like doesn't, you know, have the common complaint I have with old films of there being so slow paced and boring that you can't follow it. Like maybe I've just seen some bad old films, like I don't know, 2001, where it just doesn't keep the energy up. But this, despite being, I'm gonna reference 2001 again, it feels a lot like that one conversation where the Russian diplomats are talking, and they're like, the astronauts just come in. Like it's that sort of, you know, upper class like conversation about nothing. But this has like a lot of just that sense of dread, like in every word and in every like subtle meaning of like all.
Yeah, but Tony, why would you say that? Why would you say that? Because now I've got to argue about you with 2001.
No, stop it, Ethan.
No, I'm
stop
saying
it.
it's
no arguments.
Rope is good because it is that, but better.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
I didn't hear what you said. You cut out.
Then that's a good sign from God that we should move on.
Okay, so there's a thing that, like, it's like a piece of film theory from Hitchcock where he talks about the bomb under the table, and I really like that I've seen this film because I love his description of like, you can have a dinner scene that will be very ordinary, and then imagine halfway through the scene I'll show you there's a bomb under the table and how that changes the entire meaning of the scene. And essentially this film is essentially the bomb under the table for the whole thing.
It's a truth bomb
and
under the table, though.
I can see how it worked as a theatrical production, but the fact that the camera kind of always keeps central, like the characters, and like how the table is it's pretty much always in shot. And like as Tony mentioned, that amazing shot where the foreground is the books on the chest, and then the maid, which is probably that and the swinging door.
And
the most impressive moments.
There's another great one I feel is when when Rupert's about to come back and it's just focusing on the door, and then slowly a gun moves up into the shot. Then you have it's not loaded. You see the gun turn and see the 6 bullets in as it then is loading. It's like and then just how you sort of that's another great moment. And another bit where Rupert is going through how he'd do the murder basically, and it's focusing around the room and all the different things, and you get a feel that you know exactly what happened at the start of the film. And then when he's slowly reaching the point where it's like, yeah, well, it's going to be in the box, but ends up saying something different, you have Brandon just sort of walk suddenly into frame, and you see the hand with his hand in his pocket with the gun. You're just like,
From
Anyway.
like a filmmaking perspective, it's pretty much faultless. Where all my faults lie are in terms of like some of the performances. I think that are dated.
Yeah.
In terms of like this, which is predominantly kind of like these two kind of like leads, and then it's an ensemble around them. When one of the leads is just not good at acting, it's
I get the other guy. What's his name?
the main guy,
No, not Brandon. The other one.
Robin.
Yeah. Him. He's like meant to be this like on edge, like weirdo kind of guy.
But towards the end, Tony, come on.
he does sort of lose it in a way that doesn't really feel very controlled. Like it
doesn't feel naturalistic. Whereas the strength of this, I find, is it's a farcical conceit with a completely naturalistic delivery. So it's such a ridiculous idea, but like the main guy is so convincing in the way he speaks. And like,
he's definitely a good like actor within the film, almost, of like putting on a performance.
yeah.
You know?
And even if he's like got this kind of psychopathic tendency, his whole life is the performance.
Yeah.
In terms of like what that is. Whereas Robin was
He's
just
like Nathan Fielder.
Robin was kind of just a bit. He was overacting. He was chewing the scenery towards the end. And some of the people that came to the party, I thought the old woman wasn't particularly great.
I mean, there were two old women. There was the maid. And
Yeah,
the
not the
other
maid,
one.
the
Alright.
other one. And I saw that in the cast there was a sir. I mean, maybe like Hitchcock's just put his friend in it, or he was a great actor who's kind
To
of.
be fair, like there are some good moments with like the naturalistic dialogue that are like you probably are played like really well because it is in this like casual setting. Like there's one where like the maid like
Oh, I liked her.
yeah, she
but-
talks to I want to say Rupert, and it is like, I've got that pate you like, you know, and he's like, what? No, I hate it. And he like tricks her. And
He
it's
was
like,
good.
yeah, there are some moments where like the natural like back and forth like just really like gives it a lot of charm and energy.
But for me anyway, when the whole film is essentially like it's kind of like the way the camera's setting everything up. It's like the focus is the characters and the conversations they're having.
Yeah.
When some of those
Yeah.
conversations, dialogue, is that fault, or is that the performances don't quite land for me anyway? It kind of takes me out of the film a little bit.
I will say that Harry said that it's about focusing on those dialogues. Something that I would point out is like a byproduct of it being this one-shot sort of thing. And normally going into it, I was like, okay, one-shot, I get that it's a massive technical achievement, but what does it actually do for watching the film? And like, I think something that really sold the idea of the one-shot film for me is that you get to see like the aftermath of each of the shots and scenes as it like pans away, because there are like loads of points where someone will just leave a conversation, and like if it had just been like a cutaway, like you probably wouldn't have noticed it, but instead of it being this one shot, you hear people in the distance being like, that was rude, he just blew me off and walked away.
The overlapping
Yeah,
conversations.
Yeah,
are really good.
yeah, it's very good. You get a very good sense of like spatial awareness and how the place like feels.
You have a feeling there's a party going on there, because when you're not following a person, you can usually hear their voice in the background chatting to someone else or something like that. There's a feeling that there's something going on beyond what you're seeing as the camera, and does like put you there in the party and adds to the suspense.
And you know what's really good is sometimes they will just look at people who are looking towards the camera but in a different direction, and you can tell what they're looking at, you know, even though it's off screen. Because there's the one scene where whatever his name is, Robin, the crazy guy, like he's being called out on like, oh, you guys hiding a dead body, way, and he's just like death staring at the box that has the body. He's got it's almost a bit over the top, this look of shock and fear, just staring at the box.
There's something I noticed that Brandon does, at least at one point, is when he is talking about David, who's the one that they've killed. He sort of does a kind of little head nod towards the box, as though he's like vaguely addressing it to the box. But yeah, no, they do kind of have those little bits. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like.
I don't know if. Wait, sorry.
Robin, who's actually called Philip.
Okay, that's his name.
I quite like his performance. I'd say I feel it does kind of work for his kind of slightly disenfranchised now, being more disgruntled and gets steadily more like sort of drunk and out of it. I thought his performance was pretty good actually, but
I don't know. The one bit where he throws the champagne glass on the floor is a
It's like
bit
throwing the
GCSE
phone
drama.
across the room.
But I in the very beginning, I actually think he's quite good at showing that like he's like the almost foil to like Brandon's like hyper confidence, and he's the one who's like, you know, what if it wasn't the perfect murder? What if we did several things wrong, such as like keep the murder weapon and host a party around the dead body?
It's such a ridiculous concept.
What do you think of the I guess the philosophical message this film is about, of the idea of like, yeah, murder is alright, guys, that it eventually goes back on and says like murder's bad?
yeah, no, I feel the point is that it's
Like
I feel it never
It doesn't
never
really have a point, does it?
it says murder is bad at
Yeah,
the
but
end.
I knew murder was bad.
Yeah, but 12 Years a Slave was just about showing people who knew slavery was bad that slavery was bad again. You know?
yeah, no,
Sometimes a reminder helps.
It's got a reasonable theme of just like the one of the lines I really like is Rupert when he's discovering like why Brandon has done this, and is like, you've turned my own teachings against me. That was not at all what they meant, and it like sickens me now that I have like what I have said has led to her death, basically.
Yeah,
that's
for me anyway. When like the actual thing he was saying in the first place was so laughably ridiculous, I kind of him turning back on it was kind of, it didn't feel like any sort of payoff for me. It was kind of like, yeah, well done.
yeah. No, I still maintain he was joking initially at the party. Despite what he was saying, like, no, I'm dead serious. It just kind of fits with his, I don't like that pate anymore.
Yeah, it's like when I say like, oh, Thanos was good, right? You know, it's like, am I joking? Is it a performance? Is it true? Yeah.
What does Ethan think of this one?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks.
I guess we should get to scoring again.
Well, should I go first then?
Yeah, you set that bar, Jono.
Yeah. So, I mean, from the first time I watched this, you know, I really enjoyed it, and I was wondering, like, because I can't remember what I scored it the first time I watched it. It was I feel it was a 9, and I think I said at the time this could be a 10, but I'd need to rewatch it. And so after rewatching it, I'd say it does just get up into my 10 bracket. It's just, I mean, it's like 12 Angry Men, but also, you know, different than that. I just really like it. It's one of my favourite films. To the point I'm like running out of how to actually say that with words and such.
Voice.
By Ethan.
It's a good question. I think I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
What do you think of the film? Okay,
Fair enough.
thank you.
That came out of nowhere, but I'll allow it.
I feel it's just because we've said a lot of the stuff that he would. I'm guessing, or he's just not in the mood for talking. Because I know he does like this film. I was there when we watched it for the first time.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about this film? I'm just going to posit it right now. I guess this is more common with older films, but there's like a lot of silence at the beginning, I feel. And like you don't get moments of silence, like
Kira.
completely.
like in newer films. Yeah, Kira was also like older. Not as old as this though. I don't think anime had been invented back then.
Good.
Like I say, yeah, no, there's some great use of silence in this film. Can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah.
Does it have like, other than the live, what do they call it? The diegetic music. Oh, look at me, English. Like other than that, does it actually have like a score to it? Because I don't remember any like music like actually being played like from a meta like moment of tension, like Jaws theme kind of thing.
There is some stuff in the background.
Alright, neat.
Sort of more
Good to know.
atmospheric, I think.
Do you know what you're gonna give it, Tony?
I think I know what I'm gonna give it, and I will say that that watching this, I was like, oh no, this is such an uncomfortable film. I don't even know if I can like it and give it a good score. But I think because it's short, you know, like I thought like, oh no, is this really gonna drag? And to be fair, we did take a tiny break to get food, but I think like overall, just the way it ends, I really like. Like you get Rupert go on that speech, and you go like, oh no, is this pulling a what's his name, Inspector Gould, going on about socialism? You know, kind of like I don't know, really what do they call it? Was it 1984 that had that essay in the middle of it for no reason?
Yeah, Goldstein's book.
Goldstein's book. Is it pulling a Goldstein's book? But no, I think the ending is really strong, especially the bit where he just like shoots the gun out the window and he says, "It's not what I'm gonna do to you; it's what society is." And I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. And the way it ends, like on that, you know, slow, just like looking at the guys as the thing is. And I think it's held up really well. Like, I don't know. The one-shot thing is interesting, but at the same time, like, there are just a lot of zooms in on people's backs.
Yeah,
and I get they had to do it that.
As it goes on, like, to start off with, you don't notice the first back thing, because the camera is very close as it turns around, but there are some other ones where you're like, okay, I'm just zooming, I'm zooming in so this follows the whole thing. But it's like... Fair enough.
Yeah, like I get that it was a limitation of the time. It's not that bad, but it's the kind of thing that you notice to be like, oh, like I tried not to notice the cuts, but that one was like, yeah.
I mean, they were literally like running over people's feet and then having to like gag them and take them off, so you know it wouldn't disrupt the footage. I feel they pushed the limits quite a lot.
Yeah, and this is one of the films where I feel like it doesn't like sacrifice anything just for the sake of being like technically groundbreaking. Like it uses it in a good way, and it's not like distracting. I think it adds to it. But at the same time, like, yeah, I don't know if like any of the characters I liked Rupert, but like the main guys, like, because they are criminals, like they're not very like likable, and so it's a bit confusing. Like I'm not really sure what I'm rooting for. There doesn't seem to be much of a like a sort of sympathetic like backbone to the story. That is something that I'd probably like more.
I think it just kind of relies on you having like, well, everything you hear about David is like positive and nice.
Yeah.
So
I guess
like...
it is based on David, but at the same time, like if your nicest character is dead, and, and so, but I don't know. I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10 because it's a film that I thought I wouldn't like going in because it's old, you know, and it's got such an unsettling story. But towards the end, it really pulled it together for me, and so I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. And I will also, at the end of this round, make that 7 look better in comparison by lowering some other scores that I've given a 7. So there you go, Jono, and that leaves Harry.
Well, Tony, funny you say that, because actually I agree with quite a lot of what you said. Like, to be honest,
that's never happened before.
I know, it's really weird. Maybe it's because we watched the film together. That's why we have similar opinions.
When 2 became 1.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I think it's a very good film. I think technologically it's incredible.
It's technological.
And yes, when it comes to the direction, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I've got a house moving castle situation where it's like, how much can I invest? How much personal investment did I have in the characters? Did I have in the story? And as well as I enjoyed it, I appreciated it, but I don't know if I really related to anyone. I don't know if it's supposed to, but personally for me, I found myself struggling to fully get invested. I was more appreciating the film rather than like really like being fully on board with it. And that's perhaps because at the time I'm not sure why, but I'm probably going to cap it at a high 7 out of 10. Maybe it'll be an 8, but probably not 7. 7 sounds good. 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you know what that puts it at?
Puts it at 33, same as Akira.
Oh, that is
wow.
a
Round 2's been strong.
dead tie.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I do my round 2 pick now?
Alright, go ahead then.
Cool. Well, I think I was saying this to Tony, you know, when they were talking about, like, the abusing chickens. I was just thinking, you know what other film has a bit where a chicken gets abused? The Social Network. I'm not joking.
Wow.
It's a bit in The Social Network. But they talk about it anyway. I'm picking The Social Network. That's my pick. It's somehow not in the top 250. Fuck knows how. There you go. Social Network. LieMDB round 3. Join us.